According to the USDA, the most recent records, and those are 2012, the data shows that in the 7 counties in eastern Washington, we eat $1.9 billion worth of food every year. We produce $1.4 billion worth of food. 2% of the food that we eat out of the $1.9 billion is produced locally. So if you think about that, we're taking over $1.3 million worth of agriculture and shipping it out, and then we're taking over $1.8 billion and shipping it into our economy. That is an inefficient system in and of itself. The United Nations just came out with a report that said the best way that communities can feed themselves is urban agriculture, and how cities are looking at agriculture inside our city. So we've been working at this for over a year. It's a huge opportunity for us to localize our economy in the future. It's a huge opportunity for us to create efficiencies in the system, and it's a great way to feed people. We had a regional food economy conference. Out of that came 2 items. One is the urban farming ordinance. People wanted to work on that. We had 200 people in attendance. And also formation of an urban food council. So we had an open house last summer in June. We had 100 people and we gathered input at that open house and said, okay, what time? We did visual preference surveys. We took comments. Everybody wrote down what they thought about our current laws. We did presentations on what our current economy allows, our current municipal code allows, what it doesn't allow. Took all those comments. And so the most interesting to me were the visual preference surveys. And so a visual preference survey, say we showed a whole bunch of different types of animals, and then said, so for example, there was a picture of a cow, pictures of chickens, pictures of pygmy goats, and we said, okay, what are you okay with, what do you want? And 0 people out of the 88 people that turned in the survey said that they wanted cows. But about 96% said they were okay with chickens. And so we then formed a working group. Out of those 88 people, we asked everybody in attendance, and then asked people like the Regional Health District, we asked people from Scraps, from Spokane, Code Enforcement, our Parks Department, Police Department. We had representatives from all across different spectrums. We had 3 small farmers from rural farm areas that came and talked to us about it, and we worked over the summer on taking our current code and rewriting it. Once we rewrote it, now we're out presenting to the neighborhood councils, and tomorrow we present to the Planning Commission. And so as we went through this process and talked about taking the animal rules and taking what we're doing in gardens inside the city, we constantly asked ourselves questions for what can we do to mitigate those harms to people. So I'm going to talk about, in each of these instances, I'm going to talk about animals, and then I'm going to talk about what we did to mitigate those issues. And some of the mitigations are much stricter, so we might say we can have more animals, but then we put more structures in place to protect the neighborhoods and protect you from potential impacts of your neighbors. When we look at market gardens, we said, okay, well maybe people can sell produce in their front yard, but then what are those mitigation measures? So we constantly look at mitigation measures, and I'll talk about those very specifically. Right now the code says you can have 4 animals. That means you can have 4 cats, or 4 dogs, or 4 chickens. There's actually a council member right now that has more than the total of 4. That's something I see all of the time. People buy their 2 or 3 chickens or their 4 chickens, but they also have house pets. Code needed to be looked at. So we said, okay, what are other cities doing? And so we looked at Cleveland, Portland, Seattle, and Toronto. And those are recognized as communities that have taken a real solid look at what the animals are allowed within city limits and then structured the rules around them. And they're working really well with their rules now. And so we said, okay, what we don't want to do is anger the cat and dog people, so we'll set that aside and say that you can have 4 cats or dogs, your domestic animals, and then anything else would be on top of that. So you're still allowed your 4 cats or dogs, but depending on your lot size, so for every 1,000 square feet, you can have 1 small domestic animal, that's like a chicken, or for every 2,500 square feet, you can have 1 small livestock. So that would mean in your neighborhood 1, if you have a 6,400 square lot, you can always have your 4 house pets or 4 cats or your dogs, or you could have at 6,400 square feet, you could have 6 chickens, or you could have 2 small livestock. You can see the small goats down below, and 1 to 2 small livestock, 2,500 square feet, each of those, plus 1 chicken, that adds up to 6,000, so it's aggregate. So you can't have 6 chickens and 2 small pygmy goats. You can always have your 4 house pets, plus a combination of the others. 4,800 square foot lot would be 4 chickens, or 1 small livestock plus 2 chickens. This is a large house up in 5 Mile. They have a 14,000 square foot lot, so they can have 14 chickens or 5 small pygmy goats. So, what did we do with mitigation? We said anytime you have a male animal, they have to be neutered. There's no exceptions. They have to be neutered, and we also wrote that if they're creating scent, some of the some types of goats produce scent through their horns, so they would have to be dehorned. All of them would have to be neutered. Right now, anybody can buy a rooster in this city. We've banned roosters. We've also said we've been working since the beginning with the WSU Extension, and they have a great program down at WSU, and then they have Pat Muntz. I don't know if you guys ever read her articles in the paper. She's an expert in gardening and small farming. WSU has agreed to set up a certification license program. It would be a class that you would have to take. So from now on, if you want chickens or small livestock inside the city, you would have to have that certification. And the cost is going to be somewhere, they haven't settled exactly, but it'll be somewhere between $25 and $40. And it'll be a one-time class, and it'll teach things like how to deal with the noise, the odor, the smell, and the disease. Just like if you're a beekeeper, currently our current code says you can have bees inside the city, but you have to get a beekeeper certification. So it's the same idea. If you want chickens or small livestock, you have to have that certification. Second part is we looked at how to increase gardening in the city, and we simply put a market garden means that if you grow it in your yard, on your property, you can sell it on your property. So that means if I grow flowers, I grow carrots, or if I have chickens, I can sell their eggs. And it's a 2-year pilot, and we're limiting it geography-wise to the community development neighborhoods. So this area right there, and it's an economic development tool. If you go to Bellingham right now, on a Saturday morning, there's certain neighborhoods that are doing this where you have flowers, produce going on, and all the neighbors have gathered together, and you create a sense of walking and community. And my mom goes to a specific neighborhood where she knows the flowers are going to be good, and she goes there every Saturday morning. So it creates a little atmosphere. And so if we're going to allow people to sell things in their yard that they grow, we've said they can only operate during daylight hours. You can only have 1 vehicle delivered per day. You have to have a business license, and the sole proprietorship business license you can get if you make under $18,000 a year. You can get that for $50 online. You must comply with all federal, state, municipal, and health district regulations. So we're going to allow that. There's certain regulations that apply to backyard slaughterhouses and such. We want to make sure to be very clear and call that out, that whatever the state and the health district guidelines are, that we're allowing that. And then your garden, the agricultural product that you're selling, cannot exceed 4,000 square feet. If you want it to exceed 4,000 square feet, you must get a Type 2 conditional use permit, which would require a public hearing and notification of neighbors. And so 4,000 square feet, though, if you think about it, it's a pretty good size for a garden in your yard, and you can sell that all year round. And with that, my presentation is done, and I can take any questions you have.